Okay, hello YouTube. Today I'm just going to be analyzing one of my games that I played a while back, and I'm going to do a couple videos like this so I can show you kind of how I go about the process of analyzing my games, and maybe it'll help you go about the process of analyzing your games. This particular game I played against an international master on chess.com. It was a while back. It looks like my pre-rating going into the game was 2395, and the IM I was playing, the IM from Serbia, was rated 2403. And anyways, I won the game. According to this, I had an 87.4 accuracy, which means I made enough mistakes that we definitely have some mistakes to look at. And my opponent had a 75.5% accuracy. It gave me a brilliant move, apparently. And one great move, 14 best. Okay, so here's the thing: is take this all over here, like this whole section. Take this kind of with a grain of salt. Uh, Really, what matters is do you understand the move, and can you find the follow-up moves, and do you understand the plan? Like, this is really the most critical things you need to ask yourself when you're analyzing a game. So let's just go ahead and dive in and take a look. So e4, c6. So we start out with a Caro-Kann. D4, d5, knight c3, takes. All this is just theory. Knight f6. I can tell you already, this already is very annoying because I play against this so much. This is very popular, especially this line, like the knight f6, ef6, Caro-Kann has just become like it's just like sometimes it just feels like I'll play a whole night and just every single game is just this continuation, and it's just like, okay, white's a little bit better, nothing to write home about, but white's just a little bit better. Not clear if white has enough to win, but okay, white's just a little bit better, so not much to analyze there. Okay, so c3, this is all still just book. Bishop d6, bishop d3, castles, queen e2, queen c2, hitting h7. The goal is to make them either play g6 or h6 as like some kind of concession. So just make them make a weakening move. They always throw in this check because it's basically a free move. You get your rook on the open file. White has to spend a move to defend, and then h6. And now the main theoretical move is bishop e3, but I've kind of played the secondary move here. I play bishop d2, which, as you can see, the computer immediately gives it an accuracy. It says this move doesn't hurt you much, but it doesn't help you either. Okay, so again, we take this with a grain of salt. I have my own reasons for playing bishop d2. I have a lot of analysis on it, a lot of preparation on it. One of my ideas is I do kind of favor these plans where I get to play an early f3, g4, h4, and then g5. So that's basically the reason I put my bishop on d2 instead of e3, because once you plant your bishop on e3, yeah, the bishop is anchored to the f2 pawn, but that means the f2 pawn is also anchored to f2. You can't play f3, g4, etc. Objectively, like, I think in tournament competition, like especially if you look at the top guys and the top players, bishop e3 is maybe a very slightly better move. This is one of the things, like, if you look at bishop e3 and just you look at the difference in advantage, so like if I let this kind of run a little bit, it's really not that much difference. So like if you just look at the evaluation, it's like plus 0.17, and then you look at bishop d2 and, plus, 0, another line here, the main, like knight d7, here we go, same, plus 0.17. So it's just like the evaluation isn't all that different depending on how long you let it run between, bishop d2 and bishop e3. So really the question is, do you understand the move and do you understand the plans? And if you play bishop e3, you need to understand all the plans after you play bishop e3. And if you play bishop d2, you need to understand all the plans behind bishop d2. That's why, again, like when you see these things, inaccuracy, just take that with a grain of salt. Take it all with a grain of salt because you don't know how long it's letting the engine run. You don't know if it's using infinite analysis. And it's just the opening. Like, there's not much of a difference in the opening between an evaluation of 0.17 and 0.32. I mean, it's really, even if that's the true absolute, we've let the engine run long and it's come to this conclusion, it doesn't mean a whole lot. Like, if you don't understand the plans and you don't understand the assessments afterwards. But anyways, enough of my rant. So bishop d2 is fine. Queen c7, and we'll go back to the review so that we can see what it says about the moves. So queen c7, and then we'll just keep going forward. We have castle's queenside. Again, it labels that as an inaccuracy. You ignored an opportunity to move a piece to safety. So what did it want me to do? So let's take a look at the analysis. What's so terrible about castle's kingside? Well, it liked h3. So it wanted me to protect my pawn. What's wrong with castles? I play castles. I mean, it doesn't want to take it. So like it preferred h3, but it's not like the pawn is hanging. So again, I don't fully understand this. The assessment doesn't drop like a pawn or anything. It's not a huge drop. So again, it's just a question of like, do I understand the moves after this? Yeah, I don't understand, like, what's the huge advantage of it? It wants to castle kingside, I guess. I'm not seeing a huge difference in overall assessment here. Okay, so again, not a huge difference. So castles, queenside, inaccuracy, and I'll just have to agree to disagree. So b5. Again, like if you don't see a big issue with your moves, there's not one, as long as you understand the plans after. If you get into trouble and it seems like the move that you made got you into trouble, then you have to go back and take a look at it and go, what went wrong? What did I do poorly? What do I need to change? So bishop e6, I play king b1. Again, none of this seems crazy. Again, they're labeling it an inaccuracy, but again, they're still giving white a slight edge, and it's still not much of a difference between other moves. So again, it's very difficult to look at this and really point to it and say I shouldn't have done that. So we have knight d7, f3, and then they give that as a full miss. Oh my god, c4 is best. Now this one I do take seriously, because this is like that's like a full pawn. Right, that's a full pawn difference. But again, if we let the analysis bar run a little bit longer, it's not showing a full pawn anymore. It's showing here it's minus 5-3, but over here, if the engine just runs a little bit longer, it's a lot higher. But we do have to take it a little seriously because it is a big evaluation change. So it's really saying c4 is best. But then when I plug c4, the evaluation change is almost non-existent. So c4 versus f3, when I put the move in and I let the analysis run longer and I let the engine run longer, I'm seeing almost no difference in the evaluation change versus f3. So again, this is just how to use your engine. Let your engines run longer. And this is another reason why a lot of people like to use ChessBase for analysis instead of using these online tools. Because with ChessBase, you can put in your engines and you can set your depth, and you can set your analysis, you can set your number of threads, you can set the number of engines that you're using, like you can set the number of cores that you have set to it, and you can do a lot of stuff to make sure that you're getting the answer that you want. But again, like most of these moves that the computer is claiming are terrible are fine. Like f3 is fine. I mean, once it runs for a little while, it's giving like 0 point. It's giving the same assessment pretty much. It's within a couple tenths of a pawn or 1/10 of a pawn if you let it run even longer. Because I play f3, he plays knight f. Well, once he plays knight f8, apparently I'm fine after g4, which is what I played. But it says inaccuracy here. It's the top pick. So it's weird. Like when you're using just the tool that just analyzes it itself, it's giving g4 as an inaccuracy, but if you run the infinite analysis, it's giving g4 as its top pick. So this is maybe something just maybe this video is just better as just a reminder, just a cautionary tale on using the online analysis tool and taking absolutely everything it says 100% seriously, especially with these really tight assessments when they're within a tenth of a pawn of each other. I mean, if they're showing a pawn difference, like here it shows a whole pawn difference, but if you go to the infinite analysis, it's not showing a whole pawn difference. It's actually showing g4 is the best move. So this is weird. So g4, and then my opponent plays bishop d5, which is given as best. But then somehow white's better. So that was worse a move ago. Then my opponent plays the best move, and now I'm better. So so then rook df1. So okay, so let's just talk about the game itself just for a second. Instead of just looking at how the engine gives much different assessments based on whether you're letting it run infinitely versus just clicking on the game review button. White strategy is pretty straightforward. I'm going to play h4, I'm going to play g5, I'm going to take, I'm going to try to open up the position of the black king, and I'm going to try to break through and play for mate. That's basically, at this point, that's my strategy. And black needs to have a pretty similar strategy here. Black needs to try to do the same. He needs to try to make some progress over here on the queen side and do the same thing. This is just a classic king's castle on opposite wings. Both players are going to play for mate. Like, typically when I'm playing against very high rated players like international masters and grandmasters, like when I get my wins, this is how I get them, is I end up with a position that's strategically very simple, where like one side attacks the king side, one side attacks the queen side, and whoever gets their first win. As a matter of fact, when I was an active player, when I was playing actively, and I played in the US Blitz Championship, and I forget which year, but I played against John Elvist in the first round, who's a grandmaster, and I think at one time he was one of the highest rated players in the world. And I beat him in the first round, and it was something a lot like this. It was actually an open Sicilian. I played an English attack setup against his open Sicilian, and I just ran all my pawns to the king side, and I played for mate, and I got a huge advantage, and I won. And that's like most of my wins, like against titled players, like really high rated titled players, like IMs and GMs. Is something like that, and I guess this game is no exception. So anyway, so b5, h4. and then a5, g5, so just playing for the breakthrough. A4, and then of course I'm breaking through. GF6 is a great move. See, now it's praising me for moves that are just like obvious, right? like I went to all this effort to play F3, H4, G4, G5, and then what am I gonna do? Not take on F6? All the other moves were good, and it was bashing those. And then when I finally get there and play GF6, it's like, great move, good job. So, all the moves leading up to that were the ones that were hard to stick to. But yeah, so GF6, and yeah, I'm breaking through, so that's the point. And then G6, and yeah, I mean, how hard is it to find Bishop H6 is best? It's a hanging pawn, I have to take it, so. And then my opponent plays A3, and then I play B3, which it also says is best, which is also, again, very logical. When your opponent's trying to open the position on the queen side, your job is to close it and to make it take longer and make it more difficult for him to open it. So then he plays B4, and then I just play H5, again, best, but what else are you going to do? There's no way to really continue closing the position at this point, and you need to continue with your attack, so H5 followed by HG6 is just really the only logical thing to do. So then we have Rook E2. Bishop E2 is excellent. Yes, recapturing. Recaptures are always good. Okay, so DC3, and then I played HG6 again. We're not going to go to all this effort of pushing and then just not capturing. So then knight g6, and then I play bishop to g7, which it gives is excellent. My bishop is now anchored. As you can see, now I have like a winning advantage. I'm up like +5. Basically, the computer just says your attack is going to break through. So then the question is like, do I execute the attack properly? So this is a big deal, whether or not I execute this attack properly, and whether or not I'm able to follow through and get mate to win this game, or at the very least win a whole bunch of material and win. And I was able to. So bishop f8, and I played accurately enough. Like bishop d3 was good. I'm just basically threatening to take this knight with the bishop, and, then rook h8 is a threat, so I'm threatening to break through. So I'm doing something that should work. I'm also threatening to possibly, try something like this, maybe bring my queen to h2, h8, etc. So bishop g7, takes back. It's good to recapture stuff, takes, and then we took there, which is also good. But this move is okay, but not what I would have played. Yeah, there's probably a better, much more accurate move here. This is actually kind of worth looking at. Just rook fg1. But interestingly enough, not given as a whole lot better than bishop. Bishop g6 is still in the top 3. But either rook to g1 is better and then taking. Okay, good to know. So bishop takes g6. Oh, but then the assessment pops up and it says it's the same. So bishop g6, fg6, and then I do basically the same thing. I play rook fg1, but I guess he has, it's a little bit easier for him to defend. And the knight wasn't going anywhere. So then we have queen f7 is given as best, I guess anything that defends that pawn, and then I play queen takes c3 as an inaccuracy, but it doesn't give up my advantage. So what the computer wanted to do is just play rook h4. I guess with the idea, like, here's the thing, is like when the computer gives a suggestion, don't just be like, okay, I should have done that, and then leave it alone. I don't understand rook h4. So like, if I don't understand it, I have to figure out why, what's the follow-up? Is it rook h4 and then rook here? Like, what's going on? So, like, if I played rook h4, yeah, I really don't understand the follow-up. So yeah, queen f6, it says the follow-up is rook f5. And then queen d6. And then still, what's the follow-up? Eventually, I guess rook fg5. And then bishop f7. I still don't understand. And then queen c3 anyway. So I guess the idea is just to get the rooks to the open g-file, and then eventually you still play queen c3, and then you end up with an assessment that's almost the same as if you had played queen c3 once it analyzes it longer. Because the assessment is not plus 4.2, it's plus 2.26. So, okay. So even after looking at it, I still don't fully understand it, because my queen c3 was not terrible. So queen c3, it's giving plus 2 here, and it's not giving plus 2 here, though. Because it thinks queen f3 is maybe good. And again, this might change if I let it run longer. Now, queen f3 looks like a reasonable try. Because, like, if queen f3 and I exchange queens, and then bishop f3, and then rook h3. So rook h5 was good because queen f3 isn't allowed. Because then you have queen g6. So maybe that's the reason rook h5. It's just to disallow queen f3, which is getting closer to equality. Okay, so that's the mistake. So maybe it's just a defensive error. So rook e8, and then I play queen d3. So now I'm back on g6, so now queen f3 is off the table. So now we're back in the driver's seat. So bishop back to e6, and then we have rook h5. So now I find the right idea that I failed to find a move ago. The only difference is it's even better now because I got a pawn along the way. So then queen f6, and then I play rook g5, which is the idea that the computer was showing me, but here the computer prefers this now, probably because I'm gaining that pawn or threatening rook a7. So then bishop back, and then I play f4 with the idea of playing f4 and f5. And then c5, f5, and now the threat is rook g6. He can't really stop it, and then I play rook g6, and this is the move it gives me is brilliant. And again, why is it brilliant? I played f4, f5. What am I gonna do? Just be like, oh, I'm done. I got every single one of my pieces to attack g6, and now I'm just gonna leave it there. So this is my brilliant move: is taking on the square that I just spent the last 6 moves attacking with every single piece that I have. No, we're gonna take. So pretty straightforward follow through for everything I did. So takes, and easy win. So check here, just desperate trying to get some counterplay, but then queen d4 picks up the rook and resigns. Okay, so not a couple technique issues on my part that I can point to that I didn't like about that particular game. I got the advantage and everything with f3, h4, g4, g5. That seemed okay. And then definitely some technique issues, like I shouldn't have gone pawn grabbing with queen c3. I should have played rook h5 first and shuffled the rook to g5. That would have been a slightly better technique. And then there were a couple other small technique issues. So I guess the main takeaway from this video is that we have to be careful when we're using the review tool versus using the analysis tool. The analysis tool is a little bit better than the review tool, especially if you can set it to infinite depth. Even better than that is if you can go over your games on ChessBase and really control the depth settings and everything, and just get a much better picture of exactly what's going on. But definitely when you're getting evaluation differences in the tenths of pawns, just take it with a grain of salt. Try to understand the ideas, try to understand all the tactical nuances, try to understand kind of everything going on in the position, and that is just going to be a lot more important than just taking a look at the evaluation and just trusting it. Well, anyways, thank you very much for watching my analysis of my game. I'll try to do a couple more of these, and hopefully you learned something new about chess. Thank you for watching.